What's good, everyone? Today, we're diving deep into the absolute craziest, most over-the-top, and sometimes completely ridiculous homes that the world's richest people call home. I'm talking about mansions so expensive they could literally buy entire countries. And trust me, some of these places are so wild you won't believe they actually exist. But before we get started, make sure you smash that like button, because we're about to take you inside billion-dollar properties that most people will never even see pictures of. And honestly, after seeing what these billionaires spend their money on, you might question everything about how the ultra-rich actually live. Jay-Z and Beyonce, the $200 million space station. Let's kick things off with absolute royalty. Jay-Z and Beyonce. When these two decided to buy a house together, they didn't just go big. They went absolutely nuclear. I'm talking about the highest-priced home ever sold in California. And this thing is sitting right off the coast of Malibu, looking like it was designed by aliens. Now, you know Jay-Z has had some, let's call them security incidents on stage over the years, so when they were house hunting, protection was priority number one. That's why this place has bulletproof windows everywhere. I'm not kidding. Every single window in this mansion can stop a bullet. Imagine explaining that to your insurance company. But here's where it gets really wild. If you're some creep with a drone flying around, which don't do that, it's illegal and weird, you'd see they have 4 separate outdoor swimming pools. 4. Like, why do you need 4 pools when you literally have your own private beach? Maybe 1 pool for each member of the family? Or maybe they just really like swimming and got tired of sharing pool space. When you add it all up, this space-age mansion cost them over $200 million. To put that in perspective, that's literally more than Travis Scott's entire net worth. Like, Travis could sell everything he owns and still not afford this house. The $500 million house nobody wanted. But wait, because there was actually a house that tried to one-up Jay-Z and Beyonce's place. The developers of this next property looked at that $200 million price tag and said, "Hold my champagne," because they listed their Tony Stark-looking mansion for a casual $500 million. This place is absolutely massive. We're talking about the biggest modern home in the entire United States at 105,000 square feet. For reference, that's bigger than most shopping malls. It's located in the hills of Bel Air, so you know it's got that Fresh Prince vibe, but on steroids and with a budget that would make Will Smith jealous. Now, for a project this insane, you'd think they had some billionaire already lined up to buy it, right? Wrong. Turns out, even billionaires have standards, and this place was filled with some absolutely bizarre rooms that made potential buyers go, "Nah, I'm good." I'm talking about a room that's literally just dedicated to jellyfish. Like, who wakes up and thinks, "You know what my house needs? A jellyfish room." And then there's another room that's just for candy. Not a kitchen, not a pantry. A whole room just for candy, like some Willy Wonka fever dream. The crazy part is, you could literally live in this place completely isolated from the outside world for months and have everything you need. But even with all these amenities, no billionaire was biting at that $500 million price tag. The owners were about to go completely bankrupt when they got saved at the last minute by Richard Sagian, the CEO of Fashion Nova, who's worth about $1.3 billion. But here's the kicker. He didn't pay $500 million. He got it for $141 million, which means he saved $359 million off the asking price. That's literally the deal of a lifetime. Bro basically got a $359 million discount on a house. Imagine walking into a car dealership and getting that kind of deal. Richard Branson's private paradise. Speaking of deals, you'll never guess how much Richard Branson spent on buying an entire island. This isn't just any island either. This Caribbean paradise is home to some of the most bizarre and beautiful animals you've ever seen. We're talking flamingos just casually walking around like they own the place, lemurs swinging from trees, and probably some animals that scientists haven't even discovered yet. The island is also the perfect spot for Branson to practice his love for kite surfing, which honestly sounds like the most billionaire hobby ever. Oh, what do you do for fun? I kite surf around my private island. Like, come on, man. Save some coolness for the rest of us. Here's the crazy part. You can book this entire island for yourself. The price? Only $105,000 per night. Per night. That's more than most people make in 2 years, and that's just for one night on this island. At that rate, only someone like Mr. Beast could afford to stay there, and even he'd probably have to sell a kidney. But you're not going to believe how much Branson actually paid for this island. Since he bought it way back in the late 1970s, before real estate prices went insane, it only cost him $180,000. That's less than most people pay for a decent car nowadays. Clearly, he's made some money back on that investment, but there's no public record of how much he's spent upgrading the island since then. His main house has burned down and been rebuilt even more luxuriously, so we're talking tens of millions, if not hundreds of millions of dollars in improvements over the years. George Lucas, the film nerd's ultimate paradise. Now, George Lucas took a completely different approach with his mansion. Instead of focusing purely on luxury, he created what can only be described as a film nerd's absolute paradise. The Skywalker Ranch is hands down one of the most beautiful places any billionaire owns, and it's got this incredible mix of natural beauty and movie magic that you literally can't find anywhere else. The property features sprawling vineyards that produce their own wine, mountain ranges that look like they belong in a Lord of the Rings movie, and rolling hills that make you feel like you've been transported back to the Victorian era. It's the kind of place where you expect to see horse-drawn carriages rolling up the driveway. But the main attraction of Skywalker Ranch isn't the luxury, it's that the property actually houses the entire sound division of Lucasfilm, which has been used for most of the Star Wars and Indiana Jones films. George found that he couldn't get the right sound quality out of rented studios, so he decided to just create his own. They can mix, design, and do any post-production work right there at the ranch, and when the films are finished, they've got this massive movie theater with 3-story tall LED screens to premiere them. Imagine watching the latest Star Wars movie before anyone else in the world, in a theater that's literally in your backyard. With all these features, Skywalker Ranch is valued at around $100 million. Who knew George had that much money? I guess letting Disney completely ruin Star Wars was worth it for him in the long run. The British royal family, your tax dollars at work. George Lucas isn't quite royalty though, unlike the British monarchy. If you're British, you know everyone's always complaining about how much of their tax money goes to supporting the royal family. And once you learn how much their main palace is worth, you might understand why they need so much of your hard-earned cash. Buckingham Palace is absolutely insane on the inside. We're talking 775 rooms. That's more rooms than most hotels. There's a private doctor's office because apparently regular hospitals aren't good enough for royalty, a police station because they need their own cops, and over 25,000 bottles of wine in their wine cellar. 25,000 bottles. That's enough wine to keep a college fraternity happy for maybe a week. Their ballroom alone can hold over 600 guests. And almost every American president has visited there for state dinners and diplomatic meetings. The whole palace is worth over $5 billion, which pretty much makes every senior member of the royal family a billionaire, just by association. Mukesh Ambani, the Tower of Power. The palace might be one of the most expensive mansions in the world, but there are other rich people all around the globe, not just in the West. Take Mukesh Ambani in India. This guy is worth over $11 billion. So when he decided to buy a house in the heart of Mumbai, he went all out. His house is called Antilia, and it's not really a house. It's a tower with over 27 stories reaching 568 feet into the air. This thing looks like it belongs in a sci-fi movie, and it's even more impressive on the inside. The bottom 6 levels are just parking space for 168 cars. 168 cars. Most people don't even know 168 people, and this guy has parking for that many vehicles. This house is so massive that they need 600 servants just to maintain the place. 600 people whose full-time job is just keeping this house running. It's also designed to withstand a magnitude 8 earthquake, even though it honestly looks like a Jenga tower that's just waiting to fall over. Altogether, Ambani's residence is worth over $2 billion. Bill Gates, the original smart home. Bill Gates is pretty secretive about his house too. So secretive that a tour of his place once went for $35,000 at a charity auction. $35,000 just to walk around someone's house. And even though it's incredibly futuristic on the inside with all kinds of crazy technology, it looks just like a regular cabin on the outside, which makes sense since it's hidden in the woods of Washington. Bill calls his place Xanadu 2.0, named after the fictional mansion from Citizen Kane. His vision was to create one of the first truly smart homes, and he definitely succeeded. Any guest can change each room's lighting, music, and climate using touchpad devices throughout the house. There's $80,000 worth of touchscreens that can display any artwork or information you want. $80,000 on screens. That's more than most people's annual salary. The house also has this incredible library with a $130 million book, which is crazy because that's literally the price of his entire mansion. Imagine spending as much on one book as most people spend on their entire house. Tiger Woods, golfing at home. For Tiger Woods, you'd expect his mansion to cost about as much as his career earnings. As one of the richest athletes in the world, he made sure he could work on his golf game even when he's at home. Tiger's mansion has a 4-hole golf course in the backyard, complete with a short game area where he can practice his putting and chipping. There's also a video studio where he can analyze his swing frame by frame, because apparently even Tiger Woods needs to work on his technique. The house has an oxygen therapy room, whatever that means, maybe it helps with recovery, and an outdoor running track, which is funny because we all know how much sprinting you do in golf. The Florida island he lives on, Jupiter Island, is incredibly expensive. Only 900 people live there, and Tiger's in an even more exclusive neighborhood within that exclusive island. He had to put down $54 million just for the privilege of living there. Mark Zuckerberg, preparing for the end times. Speaking of preparing for apocalypses, apparently billionaires are concerned about the end of the world, because Mark Zuckerberg has straight up built a doomsday compound in Hawaii just in case everything goes to hell. For years, Zuck has been quietly buying up over 1,400 acres of land on the Hawaiian island of Kauai to build what can only be described as a billionaire's survival bunker disguised as a tropical paradise. We're talking about a compound with multiple mansions, tree houses that look like something out of Avatar, and an extensive network of underground tunnels that would make the Pentagon jealous. The whole setup cost him over $270 million, and honestly, I guess we better start being nice to Zuck if we want to survive whatever apocalypse he's preparing for. All you gotta do is pretend to be a lizard person like the rest of them, right? But seriously, when one of the most connected people in the world is building a doomsday bunker, maybe we should be paying attention. Angelina Jolie and Brad Pitt. The $500 million divorce. But not all billionaires are worried about the end times. When Angelina Jolie and Brad Pitt were still married and living their Hollywood fairy tale, they went in together on this absolutely lavish French mansion that's straight out of a romance novel. The property is incredible. There are old houses on the land dating back to the 17th century, so you're literally living in history. But here's a random fact that blew my mind. The estate has a recording studio where Pink Floyd recorded part of The Wall. Like, imagine living in a place where one of the greatest albums of all time was created. You could literally walk into your basement and be like, yeah, this is where another brick in the wall was born. Here's where the story gets messy, though. When Brangelina got divorced, and honestly, we're all still not over that, Angelina decided to sell off her 50% stake in the property. Brad was absolutely furious because apparently it was written in their contract that selling was completely off limits without both parties agreeing. So what did Brad do? He sued her for every single penny. We're talking about a $250 million lawsuit. They originally bought the place for $160 million, but the winery alone has generated over $500 million in revenue since they owned it. That's the kind of divorce drama that makes regular people's breakups look like minor disagreements. The Saudi royal family, trillion-dollar lifestyle. But to the Saudi royal family worth over $1.4 trillion, those are literally peasant numbers. These people own multiple palaces, each worth over $500 million, and the luxury inside them is so over the top it makes every other billionaire look modest. Inside one of their palaces, they have a private zoo with exotic animals from around the world. We're talking lions, tigers, rare birds, and probably some animals that most people have never even heard of. And since Saudi Arabia is basically a boiling hot desert where temperatures can reach 120 degrees, they've built snow rooms inside the palace where they can experience winter whenever they want. Imagine walking from 120-degree heat into a room where it's snowing. That's the kind of luxury that breaks your brain. Taylor Swift, restoring Hollywood history. Even though Taylor Swift is rich enough to fly her private jet from her bedroom to her bathroom, and honestly, with her carbon footprint, she probably does, her main house isn't as massive as you might expect. She does have 7 other mansions scattered around the country, but her biggest Beverly Hills mansion is special for different reasons. Taylor paid for this place in straight cash, which is crazy enough, but it gets even more insane when you learn how much it cost. Previously owned by legendary film producer Samuel Goldwyn, this mansion has the official status of a historical landmark, which makes it an absolute nightmare to renovate because you have to get government approval for every Taylor Swift restoring Hollywood history. Continued. Taylor paid for this place in straight cash, which is crazy enough, but it gets even more insane when you learn how much it cost. Previously owned by legendary film producer Samuel Goldwyn, this mansion has the official status of a historical landmark, which makes it an absolute nightmare to renovate because you have to get government approval for every tiny change. But Taylor's not just living in this place, she's actually trying to restore it to its exact glory from 1934, when it was the epicenter of Hollywood's golden age and hosted parties for the biggest stars of the era. We're talking about recreating the whole Great Gatsby aesthetic, complete with Art Deco details and period-appropriate everything. The whole restoration project cost Swift $25 million in cash, which she probably made back in like 3 months of touring. But the fact that she's preserving Hollywood history instead of just tearing it down and building something modern shows she actually cares about more than just having the biggest house. Lionel Messi, the ultimate football fantasy. Finally, let's talk about Lionel Messi. After signing his Miami contract and making his career earnings over $1.6 billion, it didn't surprise anyone when he decided to purchase the most incredible property any football player has ever owned. Messi isn't just living better than other athletes, he's living better than almost everyone on this entire list. The man has his own private island that's literally shaped like his personal logo. His logo? Imagine being so successful that you can buy an island and reshape it to look like your brand. Since it's in the middle of the ocean, the island has multiple helicopter landing pads for when he needs to get there quickly, super yacht docks for when he wants to arrive in style, and most importantly, a full-sized soccer pitch where he can keep his game sharp even during the off-season. The whole setup cost Messi around $100 million, but here's the thing. At the moment, it's still just a concept. The island is being custom-built to his specifications, which means he's literally creating his own piece of paradise from scratch. When it's finished, it'll be the ultimate combination of luxury living and professional training facility. The bottom line. So there you have it, the most insane, over-the-top, and sometimes completely ridiculous homes that billionaires call home. From Jay-Z and Beyonce's bulletproof space mansion to Messi's custom-shaped private island, these properties show us just how wild life gets when money is literally no object. Some of these places are architectural marvels that push the boundaries of what's possible. Others are just straight-up weird, looking at you, jellyfish room. And a few are preparing for the literal end of the world. But they all have one thing in common. They represent a level of wealth and luxury that most of us can't even imagine. The craziest part? Most of these billionaires have multiple properties like this, scattered around the world. So while we're here amazed by their main houses, they've probably got 5 other mansions that are just as insane that we don't even know about. What do you think? Which one of these billionaire mansions would you want to live in? Let me know in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe because we've got even more crazy content coming your way. Trust me, the rabbit hole of billionaire excess goes way deeper than just their houses.